Test. Test. Can you hear us, Dean? Thumbs up.
I can. Good evening, council.
Oh. Yeah, hold on 1 second.
It shows you as muted.
Test, test. Can you try that again?
Good evening, council. Yep, I can hear you.
Test, can you hear?
I can.
We have a feedback here on this side. Test. Can you hear us, Dean?
I can. Good evening.
Yes, but we can't hear him.
Did that fix something, Melissa?
Good evening. Thank you all for coming to tonight's city council meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:05 on April 3rd, 2025 at City Hall Chambers, 14050 Olympic Drive, Clear Lake, California. To begin, Madam Clerk, could we get a roll call?
Councilmember Hooton. Councilmember Downey. Here. Vice Mayor Slotin
Here.
and Mayor Kramer.
Here.
And Councilmember Wilson is absent.
Okay, if you'd all stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance, and Vice Mayor Slotin, would you please lead us? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, if you'll remain standing, please. Pastor Gravison will lead us with a prayer.
This time?
Yep,
Okay,
it
there we
is
go.
now. When that little green light's on, it's on.
Oh, cool. Okay, let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening. We thank you, Father, for all those in our city who have chosen public service as a job and as a way of life, Lord. We thank you for those, everyone from the first responders and the dispatchers, all the way to the water, those working for the water companies, those working for PG&E, those who choose to serve in a official capacity. Father, we thank you for the city council who is also chosen to serve. We ask as they're taking on the business of the city this evening, Lord, give them your insight, your wisdom. Lord, bless those who are here. And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
You may be seated. Okay, as to our meeting procedures, remind you that all items on the agenda will be open for public comments before final action is taken. Citizens wishing to introduce written material into the record at the public meeting on any item are requested to provide a copy of the written material to the Administrative Services Director, City Clerk, prior to the meeting date, so that the material may be distributed to City Council prior to the meeting. Speakers must restrict comments to the items as it appears on the agenda and stay within a 3-minute time limit. The mayor, myself, has the discretion of limiting the total discussion time for an item. If you are on a Zoom meeting, please note that only written comments will be taken on Zoom via Zoom using the Q&A chat feature. So please enter your comment on the Q&A chat. All right, let's move on to adoption of the agenda. Again, the city manager Flora, are there any modifications to the agenda?
No modifications, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any member of the council wish to discuss the consent agenda items? Does any member of the public wish to speak on the item on the consent agenda? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, are there any any comments on Zoom?
There are no comments on the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I'll now take a motion and a second to adopt the consent agenda as presented. Pardon me?
We start with the adoption of the whole agenda.
I'm going on the consent agenda.
You go back.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I got ahead of myself. Not the consent agenda, but the agenda itself.
I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
I have a motion by Vice Mayor Sloden. May I get a second?
I'll second that.
And a second by Council Member, pardon me, Downey. Vote in the portal, if you will. I can find it.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. We'll now move on to presentations. The first presentation is going to be a presentation myself of a proclamation declaring April 2025 as Child Abuse Awareness Month. Is there somebody here from, yes. Lake Family Resources. Oh, day from child abuse. 66.1% of all child fatalities were younger than 3 years old. 81.8% of child fatalities involve at least one parent. Of the children who died, 76.4% suffered child neglect. Of the children who died, 42.1% suffered physical abuse, either exclusively or in combination with another maltreatment type. Whereas child abuse prevention is a community problem, all citizens should become more aware of the effects of child abuse and its prevention, and finding solutions depends on the involvement of people throughout the community. And whereas effective child abuse prevention programs succeed because of partnerships created among social service agencies, schools, religious and civic organizations, law enforcement agencies, and business community supporting parents in raising their children in a safe and nurturing environments. And whereas current local initiatives to prevent child abuse include Lake County Children's Council and Building Resilient Lake County on a countywide collaboration that developed a comprehensive prevention plan. ACES Overcomers and education on adverse childhood experiences with Nurturing Families program. Abriendo Duartes, I hope I pronounced that right. Positive Indian Parenting, Differential Response, RCS, and LCOE wraparound services. Otherwise, LCTH Home Visitation Program, County of Lake, California Home Visiting Program, LFRC Family Empowerment, and the Science of the Positive, and so many more. Whereas events being held for the month of April this year are the Pinwheel Garden Challenge, Children's Festival in Evanston Rock, wondering what all that was about. Children's Memorial Flag Child Abuse information will be shared throughout different media for the month. Other events recognizing April as child abuse prevention will be taking place later this year. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Clear Lake does hereby proclaim April 2025 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in Clear Lake, and calls upon its citizens community agencies, religious organizations, medical facilities, and businesses to increase their participation in our efforts to prevent child abuse, thereby strengthening the community in which we live. Dated this third day of April 2025 and signed by me, Russ Kramer, as mayor. Thank you. We can
Sorry. Yes. I'll definitely speak, don't worry.
counting. Hey, have a microphone.
Still in your mic. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jamie White. I am the April event coordinator for Lake County. We've been doing this. We're going on our 15th year this year. I'm excited to say that. At the same time, I'm a little bit sad because all our hopes are that we one day don't have to do this as a proclamation and we will end child abuse. So with that being said, I thank you all so much for presenting this proclamation this evening. And as you can see with the amount of people here, that this does impact everyone, and all of us would, of course, love to see this end. So April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month in the United States, which is an annual observance dedicated to raising awareness and preventing child abuse. It aims to raise awareness about child abuse and neglect and promote community efforts to support families and prevent child malnutrition. The theme for this year nationwide is Powered by Hope and Strengthened by Prevention, which emphasizes the importance of proactive efforts that support family strength, communities, and ensure all children have the opportunity for a bright future. As you can see today, the theme for Lake County this year is Be a Hero. So that comes in all shapes and all sizes, and we're encouraging all children to be a hero for themselves, but as for everybody all the children in this community. Let's see, the blue pinwheels that we passed out to you guys, and I'm sure you're starting to see out in the community, is a symbol of healthy, happy, and full childhoods that all children deserve. We have many events taking place in the community this month. The Pinwheel Challenge, of course, is off to full swing. So when you're driving out in the community and you see pinwheels, now you know the meaning of them. And there is a competition going on. So in your guys' packets, we have flyers in there, right? Yes. There are different themes that you can actually compete for. Most blue, the superhero, well, be your own hero theme. Truest to the theme. So being your own hero. And you can send the pictures in, and at the end of the month, there will be a judge that comes around and judges the pinwheels out in the community. And there's actually plaques and trophies, and it's fun. And so I encourage you to do that. We, of course, will have our our Children's Festival, which happens on April 12th at the park in Lakeport, and then April 26th here at Austin Park, we will have the Children's Festival down here. And throughout the month of, oh my goodness, April, at the following locations, there is a placemat. Children did art contests, and there were 6 children chosen for their art displays, and they are at the following locations, so you can head on there and pick up a placemat. They are at Grandpa's Cafe, they're at Barbecue by Biscotti, Subway. I cannot say that. I'm sorry, I apologize. Biasotti. Subway in Clear Lake, and Cabo's. I got them all right. I said Kelseyville, Pogo's in Kelseyville, Judy's Junction, and Taco Bell in Lakeport. So if you head to any of those places, you can grab a placemat with our children's art on it, which is really awesome. And we're encouraging everyone on Fridays to wear blue in honor of children. Thank you. There's one more.
Hello. So I'm Kim Costa. I do happen to be the mayor of Lakeport, but I'm here today in my capacity as a program manager for child welfare services in Lake County. And I'm here with Casey Blue. She's one of our supervisors. She supervises families in which child abuse and neglect has occurred, and in which efforts to bring safety are going on in that family. We want to tell you today a little bit about what child welfare services does, and a little bit about what child abuse and neglect look like in our county, and then highlight some ways that your council can really make some tangible differences in the efforts to prevent it. Lake County Child Welfare Services receives approximately 1,200 reports of abuse and neglect each year. The reports are from all areas of the county, from every jurisdiction. About 70% of reports are for child neglect, and substance abuse is almost always involved. Methamphetamines, opiates, fentanyl, ecstasy, alcohol, these are some of the drugs that we frequently see affecting the lives of children in our community. Every year, babies are born already impacted by one of these drugs or by combinations of these drugs. They spend their first days or weeks in the hospital neonatal intensive care unit going through withdrawals, and they face a lifetime of potential health challenges and developmental delays resulting from prenatal drug exposure. Domestic violence, physical and sexual abuse, these experiences leave both physical and emotional scars. Lake County's youth need opportunities for healing, and our children's well-being is central to the well-being of our community as a whole. Lake County Child Welfare works very hard to bring safety to children and their families without removing children from their parents' care. However, there are currently 86 Lake County children placed outside of their homes because of significant abuse or neglect. This represents about a 23% increase from the middle of last year. And that has a lot to do with the fentanyl now present in family homes. Lake County Child Welfare intervenes with families at the highest risk of maltreatment and partners with family members, tribes, community-based organizations, law enforcement, and government agencies to establish safety and to enact effective prevention programs throughout our county. Lake County Child Welfare is grateful for the commitment and dedication of these partners and respectfully request the ongoing support of your council in addressing the issue of child abuse and neglect in your jurisdiction. You can do this by continuing to equip your police officers so that they can effectively address drug-related problems impacting children in our community. You can do this by supporting well-designed projects that provide substance abuse treatment services for parents and safe, positive life experiences for children and youth. As city council members, you are positioned to make a difference. We appreciate you and your ongoing commitment to protecting the children of Lake County and to promoting the well-being of citizens in your jurisdiction. Thank you.
Brock Falkenberg, Lake County Superintendent of Schools, and I just quickly wanted to say thank you. I know that this council shares the vision that I have, and I believe everyone in this room probably has. We would like to see every child in this city, every child in this community, every child in this county thrive. And a big part of that is eliminating situations of abuse and neglect. Many of the decisions that you make, many of the actions that your staff make involve children, and I thank you for putting the thought of children first in those decisions.
I just have one last kind of comment. Jamie missed one activity that we did do this month, which is the flag raising. So the Children's Memorial flag raising. We had 2 flags rose on April 1st. You'll start seeing more popping up throughout the month. We'll do a last flag raising on April 25th. And we have one last flag if this city council would like to have that flag to fly for the month of April. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Can I ask a question? So I think it's Samantha that was up here. You mentioned something about the city getting a flag. How can we make that work? How can we make that happen?
Got it in my car so I can go out and grab it and throw it back at you. How's
Okay,
that?
we would love to have a flag.
Perfect.
And
I will bring it back.
thank you.
Thank you for doubling up on that. I had already said we would like a flag. Yes. Okay, next up. Presentation by North Coast Opportunities on the build program. Come up and introduce yourselves if you would, please.
Justin Gaddy. Derek Fiedler. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, and community partners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. My name is Justin Gaddy, the Director of Community Wellness with North Coast Opportunities, or NCO. We're a nonprofit community action agency that proudly serves Lake County since 1968. Our mission is to support individuals and families achieving self-reliance while building stronger, more resilient communities across our region. North Coast Opportunities, or NCO, was established in the 60s as a part of President Lyndon B. Johnson's War on Poverty, initially serving Lake and Mendocino counties. NCO has since expanded, including Del Norte, Humboldt, Napa, Solano, and Sonoma counties. Throughout the history of NCO has developed a wide range of impactful programs from childhood education through Head Start to a number of community impact programs. As a part of the ongoing commitment to the city of Clear Lake, NCO operates several programs under the Community Wellness Department as focusing on community development, from fire resiliency, volunteer engagement, and disaster recovery. These programs include Home Hardening Program, the Volunteer Network, Disaster Case Management, and the BUILD program. Tonight, we're excited to share more about the BUILD program, building up individuals in local development. This program is a hands-on construction program and training for workforce development initiative that supports local residents through paid 4-month earn and learn model. The program not only equips participants with valuable trade skills, but also creates pathways for long-term employment and builds construction industries, helping meet urgent local needs across housing and economic stability. To provide a deeper look into the impact program, into this program as a whole, I'd like to introduce Derek Fiedler, the project manager of BUILD, who will be presenting the program's recent progress, participant success, and future goals of the city of Clear Lake and with the county. Thank you again for your time and continued partnership.
Thank you, Justin. All right, I'm excited to, hairpin trigger there, sorry. Share about one of our tracks in the BUILD program. So this is our construction fundamentals track. And the goal here is that we're offering apprenticeship-based hands-on learning. It's paid positions. So we were very gracious to have funding, especially through the County of Lake, to be able to serve Lake County and especially here in Clear Lake. And the great thing here is that we get to give them the dignity of a paycheck as they're learning. So they're building up their savings, they're building up their careers while they're learning. Just to give you an idea of the timeline, so we go through a formal interview process, and we usually receive about 60 to 65 applications for the 2 semesters that we run this in the fall and the spring. We're currently midway through the spring right now. So we do a week of interviews, we do a workshop week where we do hands-on as well as office-based workshops, and we decide our 6. It's probably one of the hardest parts of our job, is going down from over 60 candidates. So you want to serve and give them everybody that you can an opportunity, but we have to make those hard choices of just selecting the 6 for the paid positions. And then we get about 400 hours of training in the field. People that qualify for the BUILD program have to be over 18 because we do hire them directly as NCO employees. They have to be motivated to be starting a career in the trades, and they have to be experiencing some form of a barrier to employment. Typically, this is anywhere from 0 experience whatsoever to homelessness, justice involvement, transportation barriers. They have to be a resident of Lake County as well. So I want to give you just a quick snapshot of what those 4 months look like. So hands-on workshop week in the just hands-on with materials, also in the office. This is Don Smith with a purpose workshop. Then we select our 6 and they go on a spending spree. So that way any of the gear or tools that they may need, they're ready to go day 1. There's all the essential hand tools and tool belts that they receive. We also do site tours at some of the largest construction sites in the county, as well as tool training. We train them in every single tool that we have in our library. And then part of their tool training is that they put it into practice. So they build models like this. So you got to start with a cottage before you build a mansion. That's our crew coach, their mentor, Mr. Mike Willis. And then they get out in the field, and we help renters who are coming out of transitional living facilities or our clients with case management programs. And we partner with their landlords to offer our services to help make the homes habitable, make them beautiful. So that way people coming out of transitional precarious home housing situations have a good place to be. Not too bad, right? And then they graduate. And if you haven't attended a BUILD graduation, if you get an invitation, don't pass it up, because it's quite the event. We go all out. Our partners just pour out. They receive a lot of tools and goodies and stories, highlights their success and the progress that they made, transforming their lives for the better. And this is how we are able to support them. We offer mentorship, case management, culture where everyone has coaching opportunities. to offer as much exposure and experience as possible, networking, and of course, the one that people usually think, but I save for last, addressing the tool gap or a skill building gap. So here's some of our data, our outcome from when we started in 2020. We've had 48 total participants. 36 have completed the on-the-job training of at least 300 hours, although we aim for 400. Most attain that. 32 graduates have been employed. 2 we placed early, so we have a total of 34 that have been employed working here in the county. This is usually in the workforce development area, they aim for about 50% rate of success or placement in jobs. So far, we're at 89%. So what we do is we just pour out and we make sure that they get the connections and everything that they need for graduation and beyond. On Fridays, they go over to Mendocino College where they take the construction courses. So it's like a lab time, be able to get technical training, academic scholarships, or excuse me, academic certificates, industry standard certificates. We also host professional development workshop days with a number of partners that come in, as well as with our staff, including Coach here. He does the 3 different types of goals workshop, and it's gold. We also connect them with apprenticeships. So this is anywhere from, simple job shadows with local contractors to, the contractors put into work. They're like, I don't have to pay them, you're gonna pay them? Okay, I got a job for them to do. This is a growing list of our partnerships that we have with the local contractors. And some of them are smaller contractors, others are very large ones. I'll highlight just a few of them here for you. One is Bridges Construction. So as you can see, it doesn't get better than this. They're working shoulder to shoulder, side by side with some of the best and most skilled carpenters in the industry. Also partnered with Danco Construction. And so they are the ones that built the 80-unit apartment complex just down the road. I'm sure you're very familiar with them. But they were absolutely fantastic to work with. They hired several of our employees. That'll highlight now. So that's Thomas. Thomas, when he first came to us, he was living in a small trailer with 4 kids, a wife, and he's like, man, I just need steady work. And he was hungry to learn. So we gave him an opportunity and he excelled. We actually named one of our awards after him and for excellent work. And he did really well, but upon graduation, he didn't find a job. And we're like, man, I just don't get it. It was December. It's a hard time to find a job in construction, but we stayed in touch, and this was just part of the aftercare that we tried to excel for. And I said, you know what? We just had 2 openings come up. I've never done this before, but I feel like I need to do it. I'm going to rehire you, Thomas. And so we rehired him. Less than a month later, he proved himself. Danco said, we have to hire this guy. There's actually a bidding war for Thomas that day because 2 subcontractors said, I want to hire you. And then Danco, the superintendent, was like, no, you guys, that's not going to work here because we're going to hire him. And so he went to work with Danco, worked for them for over a year. But then his goal was to work in Lake County. And so he came back to us and said, their work is out there. I want to stay here. So then we connect him with another one of our partners with Valley Glass, and he's doing really great there. So apprenticeships leading to work, this is right on time. They were in Clear Lake. They just moved over to Lower Lake, and Justin over there has been great. Christian, he came at a time in life when he was really struggling. He lost momentum. He was just trying to get back on his feet. And so with the coaching support of our program, he had a turning point in his life, was able to bring his family back together, got a good job, earning commission and a good salary with Right on Time. And he's doing really well right now. So we also take on building projects as a crew. We've worked on 43 units of all different types. Here's one in Clear Lake, not too far from here. There was a lady that lost mobility to her own house, and she was under the threat of being homeless. And her caretaker was trying to carry her into the house, but that was completely a dangerous situation. And so she reached out to us, and we were able to build this ramp so she could regain access to her house. This is a picture of her and her friend and caretaker, as well as our build crew members with the finished deck. A few of the other projects here in Clear Lake, again, deck access became dangerous just to get in and out of his own house. The window on the left, that contractor had installed the window and did the trim, but forgot the caulking. And so the water was just causing havoc. And so they called us and they're like, we don't know who else to turn to. And so we were able to help them out. It's a very simple thing, but can you imagine like just a few drops of water at a time, just absolutely destroying a house? Turns a simple fix, made all the difference. We also, as long as time permits, and we try to do community enrichment projects. This is at the senior center in Clear Lake. Installed the pergola at the Gardens Project. This is a collaboration with NCO's Gardens Project. They received a small grant. And they said, we have these ideas. Can you make them into reality? And said, okay. So we built this pergola. We also helped Barbara Kreiswitz and her merry band of volunteers to make some repairs onto the Redbud gazebo. And I don't have an aftershot, but they since have gone back and painted it with that black and white paint. And it's looking quite beautiful there. Okay, so for those interested in applying for the next cohort in spring, they can scan this QR code or just go to this link on our website. And we, hope to see lots of applications like we have in the past. The other exciting news is that we are going to be starting a new track in addition to this crew that's going to be specifically focused on HVAC and solar training. I'm really excited about this one because not only do we get to serve folks here in Clear Lake, as well as a few other places in Lake County, but we get to offer what I call a 201 program, where people could graduate that construction fundamentals program that I just showed you about and move into this program. So now they can stay in the nest longer, so to speak, where they have the ability to be with us, not just for 4 months, but now for over a year of high quality training and apprenticeship. That goes towards, if they want to become a contractor one day, those hours all build up. That's all I have. I encourage you to get in contact with us at the number here, email, and also follow us on our website. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Derek. That was a great presentation. I'm glad to see training these young people to in the trades and get them to stay in Lake County. We certainly need more folks in the building trades to help us along. And I noticed you still refer to him as coach. Once a coach, always a coach.
Yeah, he's the perfect leader for our culture too, because Mike's a coach, I'm a coach. There's always those coaching opportunities that can make the difference.
All right. Again, thank you both so much. This is a fantastic program, and I'm glad to see it's doing so well, and I hope it grows even more. Anyone else like to make a comment?
I don't know if someone's reached out to you or anything, but Lower Lake High School has a college and career fair, April 10th. Have they reached out to you about it?
Oh, I'm there. Yeah.
Oh, you are going to be there?
Yep.
Okay, I'm glad about that. Well, I will see you there.
Yeah, we attended last year. It was fantastic. So.
Okay, good. It's excellent. All right.
Vice Mayor Slotin, did you have something?
Great job.
I just really condemn. I just appreciate the program. College isn't for everybody, and getting into a trade right away after school, or it's a good thing as well. So I just really appreciate the work you guys are doing.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Are there any comments from the public? Okay, we'll do that. Okay, next up, our animal control annual report presentation by North Bay Animal Services, Mark Scott.
I keep mine under 3 minutes. Thank you, Mayor, council members, and city staff. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to come and present what we've been working on for the past year. And just want to kind of give a couple highlights. You guys get a report every month by the city staff and lieutenant, but I just want to kind of go over some of the highlights that we've been doing. So the summary for 2024 is commitment. We're committed to Clear Lake, and a lot of news and Facebook posts out there has swayed both ways, asked different organizations to come in and save the day or do this, that, or that. But we want to let you know we're committed. We are here to serve the citizens and do as much possible for the animals for the city of Clear Lake. We're trying to provide as many comprehensive services, whether that's spay neuter or welfare checks or law enforcement assistance to the police department. That's what we're here for. That's what we've been here for. That's what you asked us to come here for. And that's what I feel we've been doing a very good job of, and hopefully you'll see that by the end of this. The community impact I think we're making is not being marketed enough or explained enough or shown enough, but we want to make sure we're going to strengthen that and start to really change the narrative out there so people understand what animal control has actually been doing. So we finished out in 2024 with a 98% live release rate. And that just tells you the amount of work that we've been doing, and being able to still come out with 98% after a whole year is pretty amazing considering the staff and how many animals go through there. When we came here last time, one of the requests was be more present on social media. So we have our Facebook followers are up to 906 followers. Our Facebook likes 635. These are new pages that we created. We were recognized as best friends for no kill status for 22 and 23, and we should get our new plaque for 24 because we've been able to keep that same status. We have a great amount of staff. There's 6 total, 3 officers, 3 kennel staff. 2 are team leaders now at this point that we've been able to establish their position, and they've been able to make calls on their own. 273 members are with our new North Bay Animal Services Lost and Found for Clear Lake Pets page. So if you lose your animal, you can go to this page and post it. We'll have more people looking out for you. North Bay Animal Services Clear Lake is our Facebook page on the left, and the Lost and Found one is on the right, just to kind of give people what to look for when you're searching it. One of the highlights, 3,102 calls for service for animal control. We were able to discount, whether that's return to owner or medical for the shelter or adoptions. We're able to discount $5,000 back to the community to help keep animals in people's homes. We gave out 135 free microchips and 207 free vaccinations. So this is important because I'm going to get to the really important stuff, but this I really want you to keep a track of. This is the shelter right now. 18 kennels are in the L is what they call it. 13 kennels are the shop. 4 kennels are the yard, which is behind the shop. Another 4 kennels is the gravel yard. And a total of about 39 kennels is what the shelter actually can fit. So keep that in mind. As you can tell, there's 64 dogs there. I think it's a little less now, but there's 64 dogs there, which is way over capacity. Now, some are puppies, some can go together, but we're able to manage it based on just 39 kennels. And I wanted this visual to really help understand what the shelter has to deal with on a daily basis. We have 1 room designated for cats. It has 9 cages. Now cats, obviously, I think there's 6 in there now, maybe a little bit more today because we picked up another one, but cats are a little different. We can house them a little different based on if it's a litter or what have you, but 9 cages. I'm telling you that just to kind of keep in mind where we're going. 2021, 279 animals before the contract. 77 cats, 202 dogs. 2022, 634 animals. 239 cats, 395 dogs came through the shelter and were placed. 2023, 345 animals, took a little drop to kind of catch our breath. 104 cats, 241 dogs. 2024, big spike. 271 cats, 461 dogs came through the shelter that we were able to manage and get homes or move along. 2025 has not happened yet. We're almost. Big numbers when you look at the space. When you look and you go, we got 9 cages. How are they doing 271 cats? How's that possible? So just keep that in mind. Spay and neuter, 107 canine spays, 114 canine neuters, 149 cat feline spays, and 144 feline neuters. What we were able to do just in the last year. Our dog licensing, here's where we gotta improve. We got 196 altered licensing, which is 94% of the altered of our entire licensing. Intact license 13. That's a total of about $7,000 or so. We got to get it back up to like 10 to 12 is where it was. And we just got to be a little more proactive on it. 2024 intakes. Our strays, about 245 came in. I think that's about 34 or 46% of what the animals that'll come in as stray. We took in 9 cruelty, 11 surrenders, 13 wildlife. These are just kind of highlight numbers. Abandoned animals, 57, public drop off, 47. And just kind of giving you an idea of what the shelter is dealing with on any given year. Outcomes, we did 205 transfer out. The clinic out is really animals that came in through the clinic and got clinic back out. It's just people that have came in for service for us. That's either a vaccination, microchip, sometimes boarding. So those numbers are kind of a little different than just a regular outcome. We had 6 euthanasias look like, and 19 pass away. A lot of kittens that come in, they do pass away if they're not strong enough to survive. We had 40 adoptions, which is a little less than we would like, but 40 adoptions here at the Clear Lake shelter. And then 80, the RTO means a return to owners. We're able to get back to them. Citations, another area as far as the licensing goes, we need to be a little better at. I think we did 70 different violations. Animal related was the highest one, 41%. That's many different violations that can be part of it. Failure to license, 17%. Leash law was 9%. We definitely could do more of those, but an officer needs to view it. So that's a little lower than what we would like, but we're trying to get out there more. And then vicious animals, we're identifying those and citing those people as well. ACO calls for service. These are just different amount of calls that an officer gets. Remember, we had 3,000 some odd calls. 500 of those are phone call requests that they just want to talk to someone about a problem. But 1,400 of those were stray calls for a dog that someone saw. Police assist, we did 40 calls in 24. Looks like 57 patrols, 61 cruelty neglect calls. Welfare checks, we did 143. Dangerous dogs, 160. Embarking, 269. We get a lot of those calls. A lot of times you can handle that just by communicating to the owner about keeping their dog barking from annoying the neighbor. So these are,
You said 143 dangerous dogs? Did I understand that back?
160.
Dangerous dogs.
160 dangerous bites type
Bites.
calls.
And
A lot of times we get those calls, someone shows up and the officer has to take a bite report based on a bite that was
okay,
happened.
what do you do with a dog when there's a bite?
It depends if it's still there. A lot of times the dog is run off and it's not there when we get there, but if it is there, then we would impound the dog. If the owner's there, then we can quarantine it in the house. And we check for rabies and do a few other things.
Right.
Here's a wildlife call. Officer got called out for a raccoon, got himself up into the tree and got stuck. He's a juvenile. Had to call AVR tree service to the rescue with their bucket truck. Obviously, was able to get him out and he's back in the wild now. He says, don't tell mom. This is a sample one. I'm going to do a better one for next presentation. It's going to kind of give you a better idea. It's really hard to do our budget only because animals that come out of here doesn't necessarily stop getting costs, but it's how to track that cost past jurisdictions. Because it may not go to the city of Clear Lake's vet, it may go to a different vet that's down in Sonoma County. So it's hard to track that, but these are just basic numbers so you kind of get an idea of what the the costs are. And obviously, we haven't even put in the building or anything else that were vehicles or gas or anything like that. I'm just kind of giving you an idea how we're going to present it next time. So it's a sample. Challenges, new year, new challenges. Staff are more seasoned. We got two new leads, so it's a lot easier for them to make decisions on the fly. It's a lot faster for us. Employee engagement, we're trying to keep our employees employed, keeping their spirits up. Most of the 2-3 years they've been with us, which is great for a nonprofit. And especially dealing with animals, you're so passionate, and if things don't go your way, a lot of times people leave, but we've been able to keep our guys, which has been a really good thing. We'd like to continue that. We want to push our marketing campaign for a Spanish speaking community and create more marketing materials for them. Now, obviously, we all know we need spay and neuter, that needless to be said. We're working with SPCA and other vets in other areas and other counties even to try to get as many animals spayed and neutered as possible. We've offered financial assistance to people who need spay and neuter. We've already paid for some spay and neuter for people in the public for them for free. It didn't cost them anything. They just need to let us know and work with the vet, and we just go through them. And then we're gonna be refreshing our website with the new look. It's gonna take probably the end of this year, but that's something we want to do. Our website's about 7 years old, so we need to redo it. And then obviously we want to collaborate and work with other rescue groups as much as possible. We already transfer out to quite a few rescue groups, but there are some that are more local that we're trying to tie that knot and be more friendly with. Here's some thank yous that we need to say to Tractor Supply and Mendo Mill for donating and helping us with our pet pantry. This is very helpful. It helps us be able to give out as much food as possible. They're doing a great job of just supporting their local shelter. There's an officer bringing the actual pet pantry to the individual who is not able to come to the shelter and get it. There's an officer who's being as much as a community member as he can be and servicing the community. And then obviously just a photo of the pet pantry that we keep on staff or keep on the shelter for people. These are our free clinics. Come in and get a free vaccine. It's usually twice a month. We'll have one vaccine in the first and third, second and fourth the week of the month, depending on holidays. But it looks like we did 135 vaccines and 207 clinics of the microchips. There's a photo of Julia getting ready to do a microchip. We had an adoption event at our thrift store. Trying to get some dogs adopted, trying to reach out. I know 40 of them got adopted just over the year, but we're trying to do as more people invite us. We would like to do more events out in the public, bring the shelter to you. National Night Out was a fun night for the staff and for showing the community that we're here. Looks like they're hanging out. And then there was the Boyles Fire. Let me take a drink because I'm dying. Officers came out, stayed out all night. We received over 100 calls for service. They come out and set up feeding stations just where they think they've seen animal traffic, just so if there's cats or known to the area, we'll put out some food for them. Or the owner requests who says, I know I can't get back to my house, please put some food out for our cats. We had quite a few wayward dogs come in that were able to get them back to their owners just because they were displaced from the Boyles Fire, but he was lost and then he was returned to his owner. The first one is evacuations. A lot of people who didn't have a problem with the fire, but they can't get back to their house, they would call us and say, hey, please put something out. I do have an outdoor cat. He does come and go. Please put something out. We do that. And we usually, it's almost like DoorDash. We'll send you a picture saying, hey, look, your house is good. Your cat's good. You can rest easy. And now this next one's a feeding station and then an owner request, all of the same. We had quite a few wildlife and ducks and turkeys calls as well. Officers wrangled them up and got them out of there because there's no place, no one to get back in and feed them. So we were able to get those guys out of there. There's Julia giving a little extra love to one of the cats that she was feeding. She also fed chickens and I think we probably had 100 additional calls on those pigs that were out there. But we still went out and fed and gave water. There's a lost dog that was retrieved out of the fire. We posted notices where we think he might live, and then we got a call from his owner who was hanging out at Walmart waiting for a chance to get back. Said, "I'm missing my dog," and we're able to bring the dog back to him at Walmart and reunite them. It's our Christmas parade. The staff loves this parade. They get really into it. They get all dressed up and they give out the free kisses and they really get into it, so I have to show these. Someone said they don't know which one is the Grinch. I don't know if he was really excited about being there. And then this is this year, but I wanted to highlight it just so you're aware. We did a search warrant on a rooster fighting ring. There was over 50 roosters that were deemed by the court to be destroyed because of this rooster fighting ring. Our officers in about 48 hours were able to get all of our supplies together, get a vet, get everything set up, talk to who we needed to talk to. I think it was the SO and the police department here, and meet up and retrieve all these roosters that were at this grounds. You can see the coops and the housing, and took a whole day for us to do this, but it's one of those things that's part of animal control that you got to be able to do when this happens. There's not a lot of place to take them, otherwise they'll end up back where they were. So these roosters were brought in. I think there was 50 roosters, 14 hens. Took a picture of a rooster, but there's 14 hens. The roosters were destroyed because they were part of the fighting ring. The hens were rehomed. This is just a shelters animal count, which is a national database, houses all animals. Sonoma County, a lot of different counties are part of this shelters animal count. You can go to our website and click on different years and see our different trend lines to see how animals are coming through our system and the ages that they're coming through. This would take a whole day just going over these sheets, so I'm just letting you know about them. And then these are more metrics that would just kind of give you an idea of how old the animals are, when they came in, how long they were there. But it is a lot of information that you can find on our website. This is some of our favorite photos of Gordito. He was a little Frenchie that someone had called in and said, my neighbor's having an issue and his dog's not being cared for. Officers went out, were able to get the dog, got him to Middletown Hospital. They treated him, he's in great shape, and then the vet tech fell in love and decided to adopt him. These are some more adoptions. Some of these are newer, but just showing you the different side of what, you know, a lot of times we just get one version of it. And so we have to show you, this is the other side that the community is actually experiencing. And this is one of my favorite photos. Mustache got adopted. Couldn't be any cuter. This is Paige. She's was at the shelter for about 3 years. She finally got adopted. And then One-Eyed Willie, he came in with a very bad injury. We got him to the vet, got him treated, and now he's got a forever home. And obviously the next photo is for somebody that'll do the next adoption. Thank you guys for the opportunity to present to you. Hopefully that brings some understanding to how much the shelter really does in a year.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Are there any questions from council?
I was on your citations. I didn't see like a comparison that were from last year to this year, like how many, like the differences.
So the differences, if I'm just going by memory, so forgive me, there was about 99 violations last year. This year, we only wrote up 70. So we need to probably do a lot more of that just to identify bigger problems. And we are fixing them, but it just takes time and the right setting to make sure we're doing it properly. But we do need to do more of it.
This is a hard subject and I hesitate to even bring it up, but are we realistic with the 98% or 98.6% live release rate? I mean, euthanasia is something that nobody wants to think about, but it seems to me in these days with the number of animals that are out running wild, are getting in trouble or attacking cats. We keep getting reports of that, or killing cats or attacking other dogs. At some point, it seems to me that euthanasia has to be thought of. My opinion.
I've never really heard, pause behind that before, so that's a new one for me, but not to say you're wrong. It's
I'm,
just,
I'm not happy about it, but I'm just saying
Yeah,
that
that's-
it's a necessary.
it's
thing.
just one of those things that I think if the city manager, I think, put together, and I think you were involved as well, putting together some groups to collaborate. And maybe if we can put our heads together and kind of work a little faster and streamline a few things, maybe we can make that a possibility. But it's gonna take all fronts. It's gonna take more citations. It's gonna take more, officers on patrol. It's gonna take more people following the proper path of having an animal.
Yeah, my thought on that collaboration was that nobody can do it all. You can't obviously, and none of these groups by themselves can, but they all contribute. And that's what I'm looking for in collaboration. And I was the one that brought that meeting up to begin with, by the way.
Well, thank you for letting us know. The meeting I thought was well, it tied a few knots that we needed to talk to a few people there. There were some people we had already were working with. But then it also showed a few hands of people who are not really committed to really helping as much as possible. So it just helps us understand where we need to focus.
That-
I'm not saying they're bad or anything like that. This is just who we can work with.
That meeting, by the way, was just an introductory meeting. It wasn't ever intended or thought that it would solve everything in one meeting, and I think there was some misconstrued, people that misconstrued that, maybe somebody in the audience, but at any rate, the whole part of it is, yeah, we've got to work together. And I think there are some places where you can improve, you said that yourself. There's other outfits that are helping that can contribute more, and perhaps you should be talking to them. Vice Mayor,
Just as a reference, you're doing animal control in some other cities. Did they have the same live release rate?
We have a same live release rate or better, but the animal control doesn't face the conditions that we have here in Clear Lake. It's far different, much different picture than what we have there.
What do you mean?
When we pick up a dog in any other city, I don't want to say anyone specific, but we pick up a dog, it's usually microchipped, it's usually already spayed or neutered.
Oh.
So someone looking for that dog, usually that's gone by the end of the day, it's returned home when they get off work at the latest. And sometimes they'll stop work and come get the dog. It's a lot different here. I'm not saying anything different as far as the people.
Okay.
It's just different. It's just, that's
But the live release rate in other cities, is that
it's
higher
it's
or
higher.
lower?
It's higher.
higher than here?
It's like 99%.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else from council?
To keep like some of the number, like the number of dogs moving through the shelter, have you thought about potentially like having like an established like foster program, like to help with that? Cause I know keep the stress off the shelter, then also give these dogs like a chance to learn good behaviors and be more adoptable.
There's a little history with that. We've had not the greatest experience with people that have come in to do fosters. Some of them have more dogs than you're allowed to have. And they would be taking on dogs that are, potentially unaltered and putting in another situation that's gonna create a bigger problem. We're not against volunteers, of course. We need all the help we can get. We're not opposed to that at all. It's just in the beginning and the history that we had, wasn't beneficial for our staff to deal with that extra stress when it's already, you see how many animals it is. It's already hard.
Yeah. You mentioned fosters. Did you say that anything that you foster out has been altered?
It depends. Some are too young to be altered, so it all depends. There's about 20, I think, right now in foster.
That are not
That
altered?
are just in foster. I didn't look to see if they were done or not.
Okay. Okay, anybody else in the council? Seeing none, are there anybody in the audience that would? No, you're in.
No, you were gonna ask them.
Yeah, I just wondered, you had another?
No, I was just, no.
Is there anybody in the audience that has a question or has a comment? Come up to the podium. And introduce yourself and say where you're from.
My name's Katie and I'm from Clear Lake. I just have a question about the spay and neuter for Mark, and I wanted to know how many of the animals are you spaying and neutering that's part of the community that doesn't come through your shelter? Been on it for like 4 years. Yeah, especially for the stray cat as well. Like it's a huge problem. It's becoming to where I'm having to take care of these animals on my own just to do right by them. And I have reached out to animal control several times for several different occasions where it's like animals are either being mutilated on my street or on my porch. And it's not very helpful. I don't see how you're making a difference, honestly, in the community.
To the council.
Okay, excuse me, I don't see how they're making a huge difference in the community. The reason why I applauded for the euthanasia was because it's so overwhelming in the community that it's necessary. It's honestly necessary. I'd rather humanely put an animal down than watch them be mauled or pulled apart or hurt, running around, hungry. It's sickening.
I understand.
Yeah.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Come on up, introduce yourself and tell us where you're from, even though we all know.
Hi, Margaret Garcia, City of Clear Lake. I was just going to say that I recently had an opportunity to go to Middletown Veterinarian and they did a spay on 3 of my kind of not strays, but they kittens, and definitely it was a huge help because they just stopped that process dead in the tracks as far as them getting, having more kittens. So they were helpful. They put me on a waiting list and I didn't have to wait too long. And then they took an extra cat because they wanted to stop, more stray cats. So they were helpful. You might want to check them out as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you, Margaret. Any other comments? On up to the podium. And introduce yourself and tell us where you're from.
My name is Susie and I am from Clear Lake. I do have questions. Why are dogs being quarantined in the owner's home? And I'm actually talking about the one that attacked the old man and the 2 elderly ladies. It's been like the past month or so, but I was told that they were quarantined in the owner's home. I don't understand that, and I do have to agree, and I'm sorry, I don't know. I'm an animal lover, and believe me, I got tons of animals, but euthanasia, unfortunately, is gonna have to be one of our end results at times. There's too many. I live on a street and there's 1 million dogs. Yeah, I know where they live, so I take them home. But the fact that they're running around doesn't help matters. So I was just curious.
Could you address that?
I think we're getting.
Yeah.
I think
Mr.
we're
Mayor,
getting a little beyond.
can I be heard?
Perhaps you can talk to Mr. Scott outside afterwards.
Yeah, Dean's talking.
Thank you.
Dean's trying to say that we're getting into more of a discussion than a presentation.
I get that. Are there any other comments? Come on up. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Del Smith. I live here in Clear Lake. I've been involved with the animals for
I've been here for 24 years, and the whole time, because of the way it is here, we have packs of dogs running around. I guess my question would be, as a taxpayer, one of the many things I need to have is protection, animal control. I have dogs that are trying to break into my yard as of 2 days ago. This is ongoing. I've called many times. We get no help. We actually had the dog get in the yard the other day. We took the dog to the animal shelter. As usual, we're told to take the dog back and let it go where we found it, which was in our yard. I've worked here as a volunteer at the shelter a lot of time for years. We've got dogs that have been in here 2-3 years. We have dogs that go out that aren't spayed or neutered. They go out on a foster program. The hope is that people fall in love, which most of the time they do, with the dog, and it doesn't get taken care of. They take care of the spay and neuter themselves countless times. We had a dog 6 months ago on my street, jumped out and attacked the neighbor's dog, tore the bottom jaw off the little dog, 14 years old. Animal control is called while the dog was suffering. The people that had the dog, that attacked the dog, admittedly themselves could not control their own dog, had it tied outside their own yard to a fence. Animal control finally came, would not take the dog, wouldn't help the people with the injured dog, but would not take the dog that was aggressive. That dog is that dog is still out 2 to 3 times a week. And this is a year ago. This dog was out only days ago. I don't know where there is, where you haven't had dog. We had a Doberman the other day running down Olympic. I'm on my way out. It almost gets hit by a car. We take it there. Of course, we can't take the dog. You have to take it and let it go where you found it. I couldn't do that. I was on my way out of town, so I clipped it to the fence. That was a big no-no, but it got taken care of. My question is, as a taxpayer, when are we going to get animal control?
Thank you. Thanks for your comments, sir. Are there any other questions or comments from the public? Okay, seeing none, is there any on Zoom, Madam Clerk?
There are no comments on the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Thank you. Thank you all for your comments. Mr. Scott, thank you for your presentation. And we're going to now move on to public comment. This is the time for any member of the public to address the city council on any matter not on the agenda that is within subject matter jurisdiction of the city. The Brown Act, with limited exceptions, does not allow the council or staff to discuss issues brought forth under public comment. The council cannot take action on non-agenda items. Concerns may be referred to staff or placed on a future agenda. Please note the comments from the public will also be taken on each agenda item. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Is there anyone that wishes to speak here in the chamber? Okay, seeing none. Are there any comments on Zoom?
There are no comments on the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. We'll now move on to the consent calendar, finally, that I got ahead of myself on. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the council requests otherwise, or a staff has requested a change under adoption of the agenda, in which case the item will be removed for separate consideration. Any item so removed will be taken up following the motion to approve the consent agenda. City Manager Flora, are there any items to remove from the consent agenda, items 4 through 8?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any member of the council wish to remove or discuss? Okay, no. All right, there are none to be removed. I'll now take a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented. I'm sorry, the public. Never get that one done. Anybody in the public that'd like to comment on any of our consent items?
Okay, now seeing none, bring it back. I'll now take a motion and a second.
I move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, motion is made by Councilmember Hooten and
I'll second that.
seconded by Councilmember Downey. Vote on the portal.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
Thank you. Okay, we'll now move on to the public hearing. Number 9, discussion and consideration of CDBG storm drain master plan and closeout. 17 MIT EPS 21005. The recommended action of adopting resolution 2025-14 and authorize the city manager to submit the closeout package to the California Department of Housing and Community Development, which is HCD, confirming successful project completion and financial reconciliation. City Manager Flores, would you please proceed with the staff report?
Oh, I didn't realize I changed my name.
What did I call you?
City Manager Flora here at your service. Okay, so.
I call you a lot of things over the days.
Yeah, we won't repeat those here.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so there's a couple things related to this item. One is all the closeout actions that are necessary to complete this grant, but we've also asked Mr. Schwartz from California Engineering Company to give an overview of the project itself. So I just wanted to briefly mention two things. One, this is another example of how really none of the infrastructure in Clear Lake was done correctly the first time, and we're trying to figure some of this stuff out before the city ever existed. So storm drainage system is one of those things. The other thing I wanted to mention is that this is taken a significant period of time to complete. You'll remember that we entered into a contract with California Engineering Company just a few months ago, really, because the original contractor, LACO, stopped doing work on the project, and we spent almost a year, I think, trying to get them to complete the project. We're not able to do so. Mr. Schwartz actually hired the main person from that company that was working on the project, and so that's why he's been completed it. So I just wanted to not something really for Mr. Schwartz to share with you, but I just wanted to give you all that reminder. So we will put up some slides, and Mr. Schwartz will give an overview, and then you'll be able to, or he'll be able to address any questions that you may have.
Is this the one? This one here. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you for tonight. So we're going to talk briefly about the storm drainage master plan, final report, 5-year capital improvement plan. Funding for this project was provided through the Community Development Block Grant Program, Disaster Recovery and Mitigation Public Programs, and has the following goals. Comprehensive assessment of the existing stormwater system, hydrologic modeling to identify infrastructure and vulnerabilities, strategic recommendations to improve stormwater infrastructure, and development of a mitigation strategies to reduce flood risk and support community resilience. So I'm going to drop back for just a moment. And what is a storm drain master plan? And in talking about that, we'll get through some of these other items as well. So I like to look at a storm drain master plan as a blueprint for how the city handles its rainwater. Obviously, when it rains, the water flows over the streets, down the hills, over the sidewalks, overland. Eventually, the rainwater needs a place to go. In our case, Rocks Lake, City of Clear Lake itself, the larger creeks, Cache Creek. But without a proper drainage system, the water causes flooding, as we all know, and we have seen. And it damages the roads, damages buildings and homes, and creates a lot of safety hazards. What does a storm drain master plan do? The plan looks at how the water moves through a city and identifies problem areas, where flooding happens, where pipes are too small or facilities are too small or don't exist. And it recommends improvements. These improvements might include larger pipes, adding infrastructure like adding pipes and drainage inlets, natural solutions like drainage swells. Why is a storm drain master plan important? It's the foundation for improving your infrastructure. So it's the foundation for preventing flooding. It helps keep your streets and homes from flooding during heavy rains. It's foundational to protecting property and infrastructure. It reduces damage to roads, buildings, and other structures. It's foundational to improving safety, keeps your streets clear, safe for driving and walking. It's foundational to supporting your growth for your infill infrastructure, not necessarily expanding. It's not what the grant's supposed to do, but your infill infrastructure growth. It also, and probably not least at all, it saves money. Planning ahead helps avoid costly repairs because they weren't forced to do them under emergency situations. Why should the city, Why should the city invest in a storm drain master plan? Without a plan, the city is left in a position where it has to react to drainage problems instead of preventing them. A storm drain master plan gives the city a clear, cost-effective strategy to manage rainwater, protect people and property, and prepare for the future. So how does this all happen? I've broken it down into kind of 3 phases. There's a field work phase, an analysis phase, and a capital improvement phase. And we want to get to the capital improvement phase. The other 2 are to support to get into that. In the field work phase, we focused on just public city streets, not privately owned city streets. So I want to make that distinction right now so that we all are clear with just the public city streets. Surveyors are dispatched, and they were all over town for about a year, and they were cataloging data of all the storm drains in the city and putting those into a GIS system. In areas where we know there are known problems, they did high resolution photography via drones. And lastly, we also did some what's called LiDAR imagery, where we capture digital elevation models. And that's just a faster way to help us identify drainage basins based on elevations. Phase 2 was the analysis. We take the data, we distill it down. We assess, first of all, where we don't have problems, and we can remove those from the master plan study to save money, time, and efficiency. We define our drainage basins, and we calculate the stormwater flows. We assess areas with problems and determine the severity, the type, maintenance, lack of maintenance facilities, what's undersized, and then determine how to solve them. And where complex and larger basins are involved, we provide a hydrologic computer model so that we can understand how to solve those problems. And then finally comes a capital improvement program. It says 5-year. I usually like to talk about a range. It's probably 5 to 8 years, I hope, depending on funding availability. So we develop engineered solutions in the capital improvement program to address specific problems of areas with strategy, of our problem areas with strategies and cost estimates. We prioritize our capital improvement program based on predetermined criteria, which such as severity, danger to the public, a cost-benefit analysis, and other environmental factors. And then we develop, so what we ended up doing is, again, distilling this down to 9 separate projects that we are recommending that the city move forward with over the next 5 to 8 years to accomplish, which we feel will make the biggest difference and provide the biggest cost benefit. A lot of storm drain master plans will have these large regional projects with multi-million-dollar solutions. They're not practical. You can't afford them. The municipalities that they suggest can't afford them. They look good. So what we really did is we focused on projects we feel we can accomplish. So part of that phase 1, that existing condition survey, just to review a little bit of data about it, we identified 167 clogged pipes, 73 partially clogged pipes, and a lot of other issues, which asbestos in pipes or asbestos type pipes debris, rust, pinching where the pipe is squashed, and other combinations of problems. All of those three are really a different way of saying flooding, flooding, and more flooding. So on the larger basins, where we did some hydrologic modeling, we modeled about 26% of the city's network. Of that 26%, 44 junctions experienced surcharging, and 25 pipes were at capacity at 10-year storms. We assess drainage in terms of storm return periods. You hear a term sometimes a 100-year storm. The way we do it in Public Works is we design infrastructure to carry the pipes, the DIs, to carry a 10-year storm return period. And we design elevations of buildings and structures to be above a 100-year storm. So during a 100-year storm, you're going to have flooding. It's designed in, but it's going to be the parking lots and the streets. The streets are the carrier of the water. So what I wanted to do now is just kind of cover a few of the major projects and kind of the why and wherefores, kind of introduce you to our thinking and what we feel is the best way to go. This first project is not a construction project. We call it the Burns Valley Overflow Floodplain Removal. Burns Valley Creek is to the north, and then there's what's called the Burns Valley Overflow, which is a smaller creek, and it runs right near the senior center and crosses Burns Valley and goes into the Safeway, the Burns Valley, where our new Burns Valley Sports Facility is going to go. And then it eventually runs under the Safeway Shopping Center. When FEMA did their studies back in the 80s, they do these studies remotely. Oftentimes it's either Alabama, Arizona, or Oklahoma. And so this creek got studied in a way that it showed that the creek was going to overflow, and they mapped us into a floodplain. This is not an uncommon occurrence, but that area is not in a floodplain, and we can prove it. So anytime we can take a large portion of the city out of a floodplain, we feel that's extremely important. And this is not a difficult one to do, which would take the Burns Valley sports complex out of the floodplain and all that stuff going under Safeway. The next project is just a maintenance GIS tracking. The city has come a long ways in technology and its technological advances. They have a great GIS system. It's unrealistic to expect that the Public Works should go clean all the pipes in the city every year. Right now, and I would ask Adeline, you could chime in on this, but Public Works knows where the major problems are, and they're pretty proactive at solving them. But remember, if you add up all of those pipes, there's 300 other locations that flood. So the motivation here would be that you could easily segregate the city into sections, and over some time horizon, say every 3 years or every 4 years, you could track and send Public Works crews out, not only just to those specific locations, but you could take smaller chunks and do operations and maintenance on those, and it would solve a lot of the smaller flooding problem issues. And you could track that now with our systems pretty easily and efficiently. This is another project. This project is actually going to get solved. It's part of the CDBG Arrowhead Road Improvement Project, but we put it into the master plan because it is a flooding problem, and part of what this master plan will be used for is to gain other grant funds. In what you present the master plan, then you can demonstrate that you're complying and you're implementing the master plan. It's more attractive to the people who are reviewing your funding application. So this is Arrowhead Road between Oleander and Mint. This is another project that is not quite as far along because we don't have the funding source completed yet, but all the plans and specifications are completed with this. This is 36th Avenue between Phillips and Eureka Avenue. This is incidentally, this is the largest project that we chose. We don't choose any, and this is a pretty substantial project. It's probably over $500,000. This is the next project. I call it Lansing Avenue Pond. My first day here in Clear Lake in 2018, 2019, when I was kind of touring, I'm driving on Old Highway 53, and I look down and there's these ducks swimming in this pond. and it was Lansing Avenue. So this is a chronic flooding area. And what this particular project does is it eliminates the flooding in Lansing Avenue, and the next street over from that is Fry. If you drive out there right now, don't drive through that pond. It doesn't look as deep as it is, but Kristen and I drove through it today, and I think she got a little scared. It's a lot deeper than it looks. But there's another pond by it on Fry Avenue, and this puts some drainage inlets and piping and various things all the way down to Lakeshore. It really takes care of probably 15 different little flood areas by just this one project. This is what we call 24th and 25th Avenue between Irving and Garner. You've been out there on the avenues in the wintertime and in the high rains, you see that these streets flood pretty chronically. They're fairly simple to solve with some infrastructure and some crossovers. And, in conclusion, the storm drain master plan, what we've done, we've taken a proactive and a data-driven approach at improving this Clear Lakes stormwater management. Through technical analysis, field observations, collaboration with city staff, we've identified the key problem areas and provided some practical and cost-effective solutions. This plan addresses existing drainage challenges and prepares the city for future infill projects and resiliency within the city. I would say that drainage is an odd thing, and it's difficult for cities to manage because it's the one item that there's no enterprise fund for operations and maintenance. If you own a water system, there's revenues that come in from the water system via the fees. If you own a sewer system, there's revenues that come in. The fees that are paid due to the monthly fees by the residents, those go for a portion go for operations and maintenance, some are dedicated for administrative, and then usually a portion is always dedicated for capital improvements. Water takes up about, a water line takes up about 1% of the city's street, and the same for the sewer line. Storm drain rains on 100% of the city, and there's no revenue stream to fund it. So what we do is we have to put that in basically with street projects. That's not only for Clear Lake, that's for, as far as I know right now, all of the Northern California towns that I've ever dealt with, there's no standardized charge for residents for managing storm drains. So you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, you're putting it in with street projects. And the difficulty with that is that, when you're doing a street project, you want to see more paving than you do pipe underground. But that's part of the dilemma. So I just wanted to throw that in. I think what we've got here is we've got a really solid 5 to 8 year program. It's a great investment in the city's future and resilience, and will significantly enhance quality of life here. And thank you. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Yeah, Mr. Schwartz, I'm glad that you mentioned Lansing, because that's the first one I was thinking. I wonder if he's going to include that. So I'm glad he did. You mentioned Burns Valley Creek flooding. You were talking about the offshoot again that goes through the overflow. How about the creek itself?
Burns Valley Creek?
Yeah.
Well, that's a more difficult, the way I learned about the overflow is I walked it. I've been here on the route with my boots, and I've driven and walked a lot of Burns Valley Creek, but I don't see, and I could be wrong, a lot of the water exiting the banks of Burns Valley Creek. And I've walked it, I walked it during the last couple of storms. Not to say it doesn't, but again, to fix Burns Valley Creek, you're looking at a project that would be very large.
Now, the reason I ask is I can show you some photographs of water about 1.5 feet deep in my garage that came from Burns Valley Creek. But what it was brush that had caught on the bridges
right
down. And as soon as that was cleared, so it's a matter of clearing the brush out of the creek.
And I think with the maintenance plan that I referred to earlier, we probably mitigate a lot of that.
Okay, that Vice Mayor Slotin, I think you had your.
Yeah, you mentioned that according to your studies that the Burns Creek, it should be not in a flood zone anymore. Are we going to file a map amendment or a map revision to get it out of the flood cone? Because there are areas that, you need flood insurance if you have a loan on it or something. That is the plan.
That is the plan.
Thanks. So, and I think you mentioned you have all sizes and capacity of all the existing drain pipes in the city now, is that?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Long overdue. Thank you.
If I could add just a couple things kind of related to the Burns Valley area. So he mentioned the work that was done by FEMA in the 80s. They're actually embarking now on an updated review of that, but they aren't going to get into any level of detail. That was one of the primary things. We had a meeting about that and trying to see if we could get that sort of reclassified as part of the study, but they're not going to. And then as part of the Danco development, we submitted a map revision, and they've stopped reviewing map revisions for the foreseeable future. We're told it's going to be at least a few years. But I think we do have a path. It's going to take a little bit more investment from the city to do some more engineering work, but there is a path to get it in front of them and hopefully get it removed. So like, for example, Danco's project, even though we think it's clear that it's not in the floodplain, they're still having to pay for flood insurance right now. So, I mean, they raised everything up, so there's not any issues, but.
Flood and fire. Any other questions from council? Okay, I'll now open the public hearing. Well, it's time for public comment in the audience. Come on up and introduce yourself and tell us where you live. Margaret.
Hi, Margaret Garcia, City of Clear Lake. I have several issues as far as, well, it's more directed at you because you're talking about this master plan. And I'm wondering how the new construction that just got put in like the last year and a half, how that comes into play here with this master plan. And because there's new curbs and new drainage gutters that are not working. They're not draining. The water doesn't drain into those street drains. So I have, during the hard rains, right here 2 blocks away, I have what I call Lake Ewell Avenue. And I've got drains that don't take water, and only the one in front of my house, all the water comes in, and it's overwhelmed. And then the other drains, there's just a trickle of water going in. So that's like brand new curbs and drains that just got put in. And I'm wondering, I've brought this up before, if you go back and look at the work that was done that the city of Clear Lake paid someone to do that is not working. So where does that come into the master plan?
We're not taking questions, we're taking comments, so.
Okay, well, could I get an idea on that? Because I brought this up before, that these are brand new curbs, brand new gutters that are not working. So I'm not sure how this master plan affects something like that, that's brand new.
Want to answer that?
It's fine. I'm familiar with Lake Ewell. It's actually one of the 9 projects. It actually wasn't, the Tree Streets project that she's referring to didn't come all that way.
Right.
It's right there at the intersection of Ewell and Pine. It's one of the 9 projects.
So what does that mean as far as getting anything done? Because it's brand new construction. They just put this curb in and all this new stuff in. So what does that mean? I'm looking at 9 years or 5 years before you check on the work that's being done.
So we need to,
we're getting in.
Ms. Garcia has 3 minutes to make comments or ask
Okay,
questions.
so my comment is I'm hoping that Lake Ewell is thought about, and it's a major deal. My entire yard becomes a lake. And so I'm hoping that someone's looking at that. And
Thank you, Mrs. Valdez.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate your time. Thank you, guys.
Are there any other comments from the public? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, Are there any comments on Zoom?
There are no comments on the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any comments from the council for deliberation on this item? Okay, so I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
I move to close the public hearing on the discussion of the consideration of the CDBG Storm Drain Master Plan.
Okay, motion has been made by Councilwoman Downey
I'll second it.
and seconded by Council Member Hooton. All in favor? Say aye. Well, we're not doing a voting, okay?
Aye.
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 There we go.
Okay, now we'll take a motion on the item in which we will vote on in the portal.
I'll make that. I move that we approve resolution 2025-14, a resolution of the city council of the city of Clear Lake accepting the completion of the citywide storm drain master plan under the state California CDBG MIT PPS and authorizing to close out the program under the state contract number 17-10 IP PPS-21005.
Thank you. I have a motion from Vice Mayor Slotin, second by
I'll second it.
Council Member Hooton. Now we shall vote on the portal.
Portal doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
This.
It's working.
Okay,
No, that's done.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
thank you, Madam Clerk. Now move on to business. Item number 10, consideration of first reading of ordinance, of ordinance 280-2025, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Clear Lake authorizing bingo games for charitable purposes only. City Manager Flora, is it?
Yes, it still is. Ms. Swanson will present the staff report.
Honorable Mayor and council members, your council is being asked to hold the first reading of an ordinance authorizing bingo games for charitable purposes. This ordinance further repeals a prior ordinance adopted in 2011, allowing for remote caller bingo games, which have since been deemed illegal. The proposed ordinance includes licensing, oversight by the police department, and provisions for violations. Tax-exempt organizations, mobile home park associations, school districts, and senior citizen organizations would be eligible for a bingo license under the revised ordinance. Under the new ordinance, organizations would be required to register with the police department, pay an annual fee based on the number of bingo games held, which will be proposed during the April 17th public hearing, and keep any bingo proceeds in a separate fund used exclusively for charitable purposes, with few exceptions. In the city's case, staff use any bingo game proceeds for youth events, such as the upcoming spring break camp and cooking camp, and a minimal amount of overhead. The ordinance outlines record-keeping and reporting requirements, participation restrictions, and time and prize limits. It also outlines violations of the ordinance as misdemeanors and suspension or revocation of the organization's bingo license. It would be appropriate for your council to hold the first reading of the ordinance, read it by title only, waive further reading, and schedule the second reading and consideration of adoption at the April 17th meeting. Additionally, at the April 17th meeting, Recreation and Events Coordinator White and I will report to council on the activities of the division and future plans for youth and community events. I can answer questions if you have any.
Any questions, council? Vice Mayor Slotin?
I'm looking at the, at the annual fees. Is that in line, is that part of our fee structure already, or is that going to be added?
We will be asking the council to consider them at the next council meeting during a public hearing to adopt those fees.
So if a service club wants to have a bingo night, how much would they, if it's, is it 50? I'm trying to see what, so that would be one game per month?
Let me just scroll
That
down
would be
to what we're-
25 bucks? Am I looking at that right?
Okay, yes. So if you're going to have more than 2 games per month, your annual fee will be $50. If you only have 2 games per month, it'll be $35. And 1 game per month is $25. If you have less than 1 game per month, less than 12, obviously 12 a year, you're going to pay $15 for that license annually.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions from council? Oh, seeing none. Time for public comment, or is there any comment from the public on this? 3 minutes.
I'm Margaret Garcia's City of Clear Lake. I'm just curious as to the 1 game per month, are you referring to, is that one, not 1 game, but like 1 gathering of?
1 gathering, yes.
Okay, so it probably includes like 10, 12 games or something like that. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other public comments? Seeing none, are there any comments in Zoom?
There are no comments on the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Are there any comments from council for deliberation on this? Okay, seeing none, now I will take a motion on the item.
I move that we adopt the first reading of ordinance number 280-2025, ordinance of the City Council of the City of Clear Lake, repealing section 6-8, remote caller bingo games, and adding section 6-8, authorizing bingo games for charitable purposes only.
Thank you. Have a motion. You have a second?
I'll second that.
Yeah, it's been a motion by Vice Mayor Slotin and second by Council Member Downey. Vote in your portal. Sir. There we go. Yeah.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council. I would also like to add that we are having our bingo game at the youth center next Friday. However, we only take donations. We are not charging. So at this point, there's no
Not tomorrow, but next Friday.
next Friday.
That's a lot of fun, by the way. I went to the last one. I was commanded to by our prior police chief, but it was fun. Okay. Now we'll move on to our city manager and council member reports. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. A few things. I wanted to start with last council meeting. We had a number of folks from Lakeshore Drive that came in concerned about speeding in their area. So a few things on that. First of all, it was mentioned that Chief Hobbs must be more important than the president because he refused to be available. Actually, what was told to the members of the public were here that Chief Hobbs was at the Cal Chiefs Conference in Riverside County, so he was not available at the time. So wanted to just let you know that the story was a little different. But there have been some actions taken by the police department since that time. So from the 22nd through the 28th, our radar trailer was placed out in that location, which gathers quite an immense amount of data. A few highlights during that time period, there were a total of 2,130 vehicles that passed by. The average speed for all vehicles was 26 miles per hour. There were 4 vehicles that traveled over 45 miles per hour. The max speed approaching was 48 miles per hour, which was from 4 vehicles. And then the max speed recorded was 54 miles per hour. So it's pretty good data, but during the time the radar trailer was out there, we had two radar trained police officers that spent a total of 4 hours each at different times during the week. They did not observe any speeders that were going fast enough to cite. A few funding award updates. We finally received our standard agreement and signed it for some water system planning that was officially awarded, I don't know, early last fall. And then we received notification that we will be awarded funds for the water system sustenance program to help pay some water bills for certain folks. And then federal environmental review for the airport project. So both of those were funded by HCD. One bit of unfortunate news of the community funded projects through Congressman Thompson that were submitted related to fire and water projects. We were notified this week that because of some of the wranglings in Congress, all the funding for 25 projects, which that budget still hasn't been passed yet, has been pulled, and it's unlikely that there will end up being any funding for those 25 projects. Now, we weren't, none of the projects we submitted to Congressman Thompson last year, and sorry, I should be more clear, by what they consider fiscal year 25 is actually last year. And this year we're in the 26 projects, the ones we submitted, but Congressman Thompson is planning to put the projects that he put forward last year in this year if there is funding available. So the projects that we asked for are not likely to be funded. So
The ones that we put in last year are not likely, or the ones we?
Both. I mean, so, there's several steps of the process. The projects we asked for, none of those projects were forwarded by Congressman Thompson to the Appropriations Committee. So we had no projects that we were expecting in 25. And so the projects that he asked to have funded last year are ones he's going to resubmit this year. So none of the asks this year are expected to be funded.
That is unfortunate news.
And then I guess I put this on my list. I'm not sure how recently I've mentioned this, but the Board of Supervisors did approve the contract for the LG Sonic buoys along our shoreline. They're still working through a couple of paperwork things, but hoping in the next month and a half, 2 months for them to be installed. And so working with Supervisor Sabatier and the Water Resources Department to help coordinate any assistance they need from the city. That's Murphy.
Thank you, City Manager. I'm afraid to say your last name.
I have nothing to report at this time.
Thank you. Councilmember Downey,
I don't have anything to report at the moment.
Vice Mayor Slowden. So am I.
I did want to mention one thing, Mike. I'm sorry. At the judge's breakfast not this morning, but last week, the Autumn Lancaster made a presentation on fire safe issues and all that. So I took her up on it, and she came to our house and told me that I'm in deep trouble because I have this huge oak tree in front of me, and she said, "Don't worry about it. you're gonna burn anyway, so, no, she gave me some great suggestions of how to make our house fire safe, so I really appreciated that. I wanted to get a kind of a heads up on it because I got a letter from my insurance company that somebody's gonna come out and look at it too, so I wanted to get a heads up and see what the fire department says about it, so I really appreciated that.
Yeah, and to follow up on that, just so everyone knows, the fire department is offering those inspections and a certification if you meet those requirements for no cost to the property owner.
And as of today, she told me that she's only had 3 people have come in, so she's really, we need to get the word out.
That's what happens.
No. And why I reiterated it. Okay, I don't have a lot either. I did, accompany clerk who met with Congressman Thompson at a project on the north side of Mount Canocti, fuels reduction project, which the congressman was extremely impressed by. And I think we need to, we still need to keep going after those fire funding. And I think if he at all possible, I gotta believe he'll try to help us in the future. That's really all I want to report on at this point. So unless there's any other items, do we?
Yes, we'll adjourn to closed session.
Hmm?
Adjourn to closed session.
Well, I'm asking if there's first of all.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Did I screw that up? Or? Okay. Are there any future agenda items that would like to be proposed by council? None? Okay, seeing none. Now we shall adjourn to closed session.